Hello everyone, my name is Himanshu Sharma. In this video, we will create reactive endpoints which will be responsible to save and retrieve data from a database. So let's get started. First, head to the Spring Initializer website. And here we'll be selecting Maven, define as per your preference. And you'll be using Java 21. This should be fine. In dependencies, we are going to use reactive web, and we need a database for Spring Data R2DBC for reactive connectivity, and S2 database also. And yeah, and one more thing, we need Lombok to assist us. So yeah, reactive web app, Spring Data R2DBC, S2 database, Lombok. So let's quickly check our POM. It covers R2DBC, WebFlux. So here you can see we are getting WebFlux instead of web, and S2 database is fine, and then we are getting another library to interact reactively with the H2 database, and Lombok, and then we have the one more dependency for assisting us in the testing the application. All right, so let's go ahead and generate this in your system and open it in your favorite IDE. Okay. All right, so I have the project open in IntelliJ. So let's start first with the database part, and for that what we are going to do is, first let's create a config. So first we are going to create the database configuration, test the database, the repository end of the application, and after that we will create the REST endpoints. All right, so let's go ahead, create a package config. Okay, and here let's create a class database config. Okay, now here what we have to do is we need to define a configuration class responsible to initialize our database. For this, what I am going to do is I will say connection factory initializer, and then we need like this, and then connection factory, and then connection factory. All right, so here again the initializer object, and we are going to set the connection factory here, and then in the initializer we need to set the database populator. Where is, okay, but the issue is here, database populator. And then in this you need to define the resource. So the resource is like this, and we need to add the data here, which we can do like resource like this one, and here I'm saying import class, and I need to go with the core IO one. Make sure that you are using this one. Okay, and this is the resource, and this resource we need to pass here, and then the value is for this one is going to be a file which I'm going to create now, and that file is stored in our class path, and let's name it schema. Okay, so What I'm going to do now is I will go to resources, and here I will create a file name schema SQL. Okay, so we are using H2 database, so it's an in-memory one. Okay, so but it will behave like any relational database, so we will be using the similar syntax for creating a table. So I have the script ready, so what I will do, I'll put it over here and like this. Okay, so what we are saying is that when this application is initialized in my H2 database, a table with name book should be created with these fields. All right, change dialect to let's global. Let's for now make it H2, but I don't think it's mandatory. It's just for the ID. You just save a file with this detail. That's it. Or if you want to add more tables, you can add more. All right. And then here we are getting some error. What is that error? And it, okay, we need to return, right? So we are going to return the initializer, and then this needs to be created a B. Okay, so now you're wondering why I'm suddenly creating this thing. So let me quickly show you. If you go to Spring data to DBC documentation here, and you can see the R2DBC part, and this is actually a prerequisite. So we need to define where is it? Getting started. Driver, it should be somewhere here. Where is that? To do so, that is for debugging purpose. Yeah, this one. Connection. One of the first tasks of using relational database is to create a connection factory object. Okay, so that's what we are doing over here. And yeah, so right now if I okay, let me change this to YAML, and here Spring application, that is fine, and I want to add it. This is not fine actually, so a logging, I need to add the logging level so that I am sure that I'm getting the correct logs after initializing, so that gives us confidence that our setup is correct. So I will say R2DBC and let's say trace. Okay, and I will, okay, let's comment it out and I will show you what is going to happen, the default behavior. If I just run it, and what will happen is okay, so one one major thing change you observe is in the reactive one you will be getting a netty server instead of Tomcat. Okay, now what happened is it says finish starting repository scanning, bootstrapping, R2DBC default mode. That's it. We did not get much information what happened about our schema, right? So if I just uncomment it and restart it, and I feel like in my previous videos I was using Tomcat, but I'm saying like this is running much faster. See here, it started, and here you can see that logs, that SQL script from class path resource, and updated count for create table. So our script is getting executed. Okay, so that's the beauty of getting the logs. But okay, that's fine, we don't need this anymore. We can comment it. Our initial setup is done. Next thing we are going to do is we need to create repositories, right? And even before that, we need to create a model. So what I'm going to do is I will define a domain package. Okay, and here I'm going to say create a book class. Okay, and I have this project ready, so I can use that reference, and I will add the details here. Oh wait, okay, it is fine. And then we need two more details, which is this one and this one. Okay, and what we have to do is we need to add data. We can utilize our Lombok, and say builder and all constructor, no constructor, and that's it. All right, so this is done, and this is going to be our the entity, right? So you can define it like id here, and then for these two created date, we want this to be generated automatically, right? So again, we can use the spring annotation. So one thing you observe here, see, we are getting these as spring framework annotations. These are no longer jp annotations, right? So we'll say created date, and here we are going to say yeah, last modified date. So again, this feature is pretty amazing, getting out of the box in IntelliJ Ultimate, that I'm able to code more quickly in this. Like I'm just typing and it will giving me better suggestions that okay, I think you're planning to do this, and it's just a matter of pressing tab and that's it. All right, so this is fine, and we get to see that feature a lot in this video. So okay, so the book is fine, the domain is fine, so these things are representing exactly what is here in the our schema. All right, so next thing is we need to create a repository, right? So we will be creating a package named repositories, right? And let's create an interface book repository, right? All right, and what this book repository is going to do is it will extend reactive CRUD repository, and here we are going to use book, and id is our integer. All right, so far most of the things, like these things, like defining a book repository, is similar as you might have done for non-reactive approach, right? All right, so next thing is let's go ahead and test our database part. So for that, to create a test case for this one. So let's say I want to create a test case for my book repository. All right, so here how we are going to test this thing, right? So first thing, we will be annotating it with data r2dbc test. Okay, and then second thing, we expect the database config which we created earlier, that should be available here also. So I'll be using database config. Is it not showing? Not class, right? Something is wrong here. Database config here. Database. It should show up. There is some issue. what it is, what is the issue? Oh, okay, it's database, right? Alright, my bad. Rename file. Alright. Okay, this is done. Sorry, that's a typo. And now I should be getting it. Fine. Alright. Now, so next thing is what we have to do is we need to auto wire the repository. So we'll say book repository. Okay, and we just auto wire it. That's it. And then it's let's test it out. So let's say let's test save new book, right? And I'm going to say test. All right, so here what we have to test it, we need to test the save method. Okay, and here we need to save a book, and for that we need to first provide the details of that book. So let's do that, and let's create a method get book. Okay, so we'll be creating a method here, and here I am expecting to be create a book, right? So I'm saying book.builder dot, and what I need title, right? So I need title, I need author, and okay, let me pull it out here. Let's speed things up a bit. And all right, so we'll be saying introduction to something, and you have some ISBN number, and the author is Himanshu. It's gonna be a thriller, and publisher. That's it. So we are just creating a book object here, and we are just going to call it book over here. Now in reactive you need to give I mean, if you just put it like this, it will not work, right? It will not perform the execution. To make it work, what we have to do is we need to subscribe. So what we are going to say is subscribe book, right? And what we are going to do is say, let's say book dot to string, like this. So what you are saying is we perform the save, and we expect like we are just subscribing to make sure that this is getting invoked, and then it will just print this out. So let's test this one. So we run our repository test. All right, it is passed, and if I click on it, I can see here that this is getting logged, right? The details which I have provided, that is coming here. Here we observe that for these two fields we expected to have data populated by the framework, but that is not happening. So let's fix that, and we head over to config, and here we will add enable R2DBC auditing. Just save it and rerun the test, right? So now we are getting that data. Great. So we can test one more way. We can say like one more thing actually. So the thing is like we can so we saved the new one. We can simply test find book, right? So that also we can do. So instead of saying book repository dot save, we will be saying book repository dot find all, right? And then here we don't need anything, and then we just subscribe, and yeah, and it will print this thing. Okay, find all, subscribe, and it will print it, right? So let's run it. All right, so it is saved, right? And find book, both are not working, right? See, find book called first, but there's nothing there, so nothing is getting printed. So even though we are performing something inside subscribe, right, but this thing is will not throw error whatever we are doing inside it, right? It will not say that okay, this test case fail. So what we can do is, instead of this, we can test it like using step verifier. So what we are going to do, we will say step verifier and create a step verifier for which operation? This operation. Okay. And why this one? The create is expecting a publisher, and this is going to return a flux, right? So this is going to be a publisher returning a flux. And what we are saying is, let's say expect next count, and here we expect that it should return 1, right? And then we say verify complete. So even if you try to put assertions inside these subscriber, the problem is even though assertions are failing, you will still get this is passed. It will not mark the test case failure. So it's better to go with the step verifier here. And yeah, now let's see what will happen. Okay, so our save new book is passed, but find book is failed. Why? Because find book executed earlier, and by the time there was nothing saved, so we need to make sure that this one is called later, and this one should be executed first. So what we can do for that is, we can define ordering to our test cases, and that we can say test method order, and we say method order dot, and we are going to say order annotation dot class. Now after this, you just need to specify order 1 of this one, and here is this one, and you need to do like this. Okay, so now I'm saying first this needs to be executed, after that this one, right? And run it. See here, now save is getting executed first and then find book. Similarly, we can execute by ID. Let's say test find book by ID, right? And here we say define 3, and let's do two things here. We will be first performing find by ID, and here we are going to, let's say, provide 1, which we expect, like we are saving 1 and it will be getting 1 as an ID. And then next one I'm saying, okay, in this case I will do 2, but here the expectation for the next count is going to be 0, right? So you are testing the negative case here. So let's see what happens, right? So everything is working as expected, and our test cases are passing, our database part is through. So let's head to the controller side, right? And that, let's refactor this one for now, save it. All right, so let's head to the controller. So what I'm going to do is, let's create some controllers. Okay, and then, and you know what, we need to create a package service also, which will be acting as a bridge between controller and database repository, right? So let's say name it as book service, and then here let's name it as book controller. All right, okay, so we have a we can close the repository, test for now. Config we can close. Okay, can close these ones, and all right. So first thing, and we need is, okay, we need one more thing. We need to create a DT also. So what I'm going to do is, I will say create a model, and here I'm going to create a DTO. Alright, so book DTO will be exactly same as our book with few subtle differences. So let me copy it, paste it over here. We don't need ID and we don't need these fields. Okay, so this is the one which we are going to send to the in the response to the user. Okay, all right. So here also we need data builder, all our constructor, no our constructor. All right, this is done, and then let's head to our book service. Okay, and what we are going to do in the book service, we will be creating methods which will interact with our repository, right? So first thing is, this is going to be our service, and then here we need the book repository reference. Say required constructor for this one. All right, so first thing is let's list the books. So right, so this is what suggested by IDE, but I am creating the reactive one. So instead of list book, I'm going to use the flux, and it is going to be book DTO, and then get all books, or let's say list books. Okay, and book DTO is that's it. All right, so here what we are going to do is it will be a simple operation. We are saying book repository dot find all, that's it, right? But here is the catch. Book repository is going to return book. We need to convert that book object into book DTO. Okay, so what we have to do is we will say map. Okay, and then what we are saying is in the map we will be calling the book DTO builder. All right, so what will happen is what map will do, see where is the map? So map will again return this object, the book object. Okay, so transforms the items emitted by this flux by applying a synchronous function to each item. Okay, so what we are saying is whatever items we are receiving. Okay, so let's say I'm getting 5 book DTOs, 5 books. So for every book, convert that object to a book DTO and return this one. That's it. So one you can see over here, after this map it will be converted into flux of book DTO. Okay, so it not only so what it is doing, it is maintaining that flux stream. Okay, and inside that object the book object is getting converted to book DTO objects, and then it maintains that flux stream and send the flux stream back here. So here what I have to do is I will say you know what, let me get it here like this. All right, so find all map book DTO builder, and what I'm doing is I'm getting the information from the data coming from database and saving it in my book DTO, and that's it. So it will be much better like this. Okay, all right, so you need to notice that this thing is happening within that flux only. I am not creating individual object and then creating another flux. This thing is happening over that flux stream. Okay, so so list books is done, and we can test that out. So this is for service, right? So let's head to our book controller and we say REST controller here, and I'm going to call it like this, and then here I need the reference of book service, right? Required a constructor, and it should be request mapping and like this. Okay, and then what we are saying is we need to list books, so we say flux of DTO and list, not DTO, it should be book DTO. And here I'm going to return book service dot list books. That's it, right? And this is going to be a get mapping. All right, so this is what we are getting here. Now for testing this one, we need to save the data also into the in our database. So what we can do is we can create the save endpoint. So the thing we do here is in the save endpoint I'm going to return a mono. So flux is when you're returning, so view it this way, like if you're returning a list multiple items, then consider that as a flux in reactive. If you are returning a single object, consider that as part of a mono. So mono book DTO, and we say save book, and here we expect, save book, and here we say we need something from user to save, right? So we say book DTO, this one. Okay, and the save is going to be what, post mapping. All right, and then we return book service dot, so we don't have the save method yet, right? So we say save book. All right, and then we are going to say send this DT object. Okay, so this method is not available. Let's create it here. So in the service, I'm in the service, I'm creating the save book method. Wait, something open. Okay, fine. So now I'm creating a save book method to save data in my database. All right, so what I have to do here is we need to convert this book DTO to book, right? So we do that only. Let's say book. Why it's not saying book? This is book, and book equal to book builder.build, right? And then here what we need is we need what title. Oh, all right, sorry, like that, title, and then this is going to be book DTO dot get title, right? So similarly author, you see that's what I was talking about earlier. That's it, done. Pretty neat. All right, so we have genre, title, author, publisher, ISBN. Okay, we have everything. We have the book object ready to save, so we just say book repository save book. All right, and it will save it, right? But we need the conversion to book DTO, because this will return me a normal book object. So again, I will use that same approach which I did earlier. I'll just copy it and paste it here, and say return what it is saying is already defined in scope. Okay, that's fine. So we say saved book, right? This one. All right, so we get it and we are returning it back to the save book controller. All right, so let's restart our application and test two of our services. So I will select application and restart it, and we should be getting endpoints here. So yeah, so these are the two endpoints we have. We'll use the HTTP client provided by ID itself. So okay, it is running. You can just minimize it. First let's go with the post method, right? For the post we need where is our service controller. Okay, we are missing here. One thing is we need to have a request body, right? Like this. All right, and restart it, and it started. And then here what I'm going to do is wait. Alright, so I have the post endpoint. I'm not going to specify the ID because we are saying we expect that to be provided by the framework. So we say, let's say introduction to new book, right? And then we say author, Himanshu, publisher is Publishco, ISBN is IS12, something like this, and genre is non-fiction. Okay, that's it. So we submit this request, and what we are getting a 200. Okay, great. Now let's test our get. So I will just send it, and you know what, let me clear it out. Let's send it, and yes, I am getting the response, and you can see ID is getting created. All right, so this is good. We have the list, we have the save. So next, perform our let's create our other endpoints. Okay, so let's head to the service first. Okay, and create service methods, otherwise we need to get backtrack between controller and service. So let's complete the service module first. So list books, we get the books. Save, we get the save. Next one is we need to update, right? So say, so in case of update also it's more or less same as save. So I'll just copy it, and I will say update book, right? And here also we are expecting a book DTO and returning a mono book DTO, but the difference here is that here we are not going to directly use save. First we need to find by ID, right? So what we have to do is we will not creating the object this time. What we are going to do is we will first call the okay, let's remove the return for now. All right, so first we are saying find by ID, right? And the ID is book DTO dot get ID. Okay, so now when I'm doing this, it will give me, it will give me a mono, right? Because I'm looking for one object. And then again the same thing which we did earlier, we will map. Okay, and then in this case it will be like this. Okay, so wherever it is required, I will utilize my previous code. So here, so this looks similar, right? this part. I'm finding by ID, getting it, then I'm mapping it as a saved book, and I'm creating. But here I'm not going to create a builder because we eventually need to save that same one, right? Instead, here I'm not going to update the ID also. Here I'm going to use the book DTO which is provided. All right, it's going to be like this, and since we have all right, so we can't use like this. Okay, got it. So what we have to do is, it's not going to be a builder this time. We need to save these things, right? So what I'm going to do is I will save saved book, call that, and then we say set title. Why it's not giving me suggestion? But map saved book, right? Now you should give me, right? Okay. And here I'm looking for the data from above, right? Then author, then publisher, then ISBN, and then charter, and then I'm not going to save it right away. Okay, so what I did was I find the book by ID, I get that book, I map for that book, I am changing the data from this one. Okay, now finally I will return the saved book. Okay, now this I am returning from this map, so I need to close this map, and then here I will say flat map, and now I want this thing, this object which I am getting from here to be persisted, right? So I'm going to say book repository. So you can view it this way. You can say like updated book, right? So it will be like this, and book repository dot save, right? So we can do this way, but there's a cleaner way. So what is happening is I have updated it, the data, okay, and now I'm getting the updated book in my flat map. So what flat map is going to do is, let's check it out. So it is acting again as a transitioning mode, transforming the item emitted by mono and returning the value emitted by another, right? So it transforms it, and now it will again emit. So here what it is, I need another map. This time it is going to be my saved book, so we can refer it saved book like this, and then again we need to perform the same operation. So remember, this save method will again return me a book object, but I need to convert that to book DTO. So I will do the same thing which I did every time above. I will just copy it and I paste it, and that's it. And then we say here return. All right. Okay, so okay, we can, there's a cleaner approach for this one, and what we can do is we can just enter replace lambda with method reference. All right, now what is happening, let's walk through this one. So what we are saying is the data coming in this book DTO, we need to update, get the ID from this book DTO, fetch it from our database, that particular record, and then update that record with the data coming into the book DTO. Okay, so first thing we did was we fetched that part. Second thing in this map we did was we changed the data as per our requirement and then return that same object back. Okay, third thing we did was we used that object and we persist it in our database. We perform the save operation. which will again give me a mono. And then in the after save operation, as we did for earlier, we are calling the map to convert the book model back to book DTO in this part. Okay. So you see here we use the flat map because in the flat map that we are extracting that entity and doing another save operation. While in this case, this is happening within the stream itself. This thing or this thing here, right? We are still maintaining that mono, or in this case above, we are still maintaining that flux. All right, so this is done, and then okay, so we have the update done, and then we have this save book ready, and then the last one is we can also find by ID, right? So what we can do is we can call the list books method here, copy it, paste it, and you say find book by ID, right? And then integer book ID, and here I'm saying find by ID book ID, and it will give me what one entity, right? And then I'm returning it back. Why it's giving me error? Because I have copied it from list, so it should be mono. That's it. Okay, so I believe you guys are getting the hang of the map thing. We have used the same thing multiple times. And okay, so next one is the last one is delete operation. So what I'm going to do is, again in delete, it will be a mono. So I'm going to say delete book by ID, right? And then here I'm saying delete by ID book ID, and then you don't need to do anything else. Okay, and one more thing here, see, when we are deleting, it is not going to give me anything in terms of object, right? It is giving me void. So for that we need to update our method as void. All right, so we have our service line ready: list books, save book, update book, find book by ID, and delete book by ID. All right, so let's head to the controller and expose these methods as endpoints. So this is going to be pretty straightforward here at the controller end. Now we need is update book, right? So I will just copy the same thing here, and I will say paste it, and then I'll say post mapping, and this, let's change it to put mapping, and then again this is update book, request body is fine, and this is going to be update book, this. Okay, all right, next one is get book by ID. So it will be similar to our another get mapping with the difference of mono, and here I'm going to say get book by ID, and here we need to pass the ID. So we say book ID, right? We need to give provision to user to define a path variable. I mean specify ID somewhere, right? So we are saying okay, integer book ID, and since they both are same name, they will get mapped. Okay, and then you are going to say find book by ID and book ID, right? And the last one is we are saying delete mapping. So here delete mapping, again by ID, we are going to say delete book by ID. This remains same, and here now this time we are not going to return any object because we are deleting the object. So instead we will return response entity, right? We are going to create our custom response entity, which is going to be void. Okay, and then here what we are going to say, fire book service delete book by ID, right? Now and here we will specify then return. Okay, so here, and then we say response entity, and you will be saying instead of okay you say no content and dot, right, like this. Okay, so you might be get tempted to use map here. Okay, so you might try to do like this, that okay, what I will do, I will call the map. Okay, and then whatever I am getting, I will create like this. But you can see here even IntelliJ is giving a warning here, value is never used as a publisher, so this will have no effect. You will not get no content, it will just simply run and will give you 200 status code. Okay, so make sure in case of void, try use this one, then return. Alright, so this is done. So we have delete mapping. Let's quickly check here. Okay, so we have delete mapping, get mapping, post, put, and the list one. Alright, so let's restart our application and okay, and start it. Fine. So first thing is where is that? Get, post, put, update, post, book one, right? So let's create one, right? Last time we created this one, so let's refer this, clear over, and paste this one here, move the ID. Okay, so I'm saying introduction to new book, this is my save. Okay, I'm sending this request and it is giving me introduction to new book. This is fine. Okay, and what we can do is I will copy the same again because I need to use the update also, put one, right? So okay, so even before getting into the put, let's call the get and see how is it behaving, right? So in get also I'm getting the data with the ID 1, right? Now let me change it to genre non-fiction to fiction. So what I will do, I will go to put, I will update this thing and I will use this ID. I need to specify the ID. Remember that this ID used to fetch the data, right? So now I will remove non-fiction and make it fiction, and then I will send it. So I'm getting response code 200 and you can see I'm getting the fiction. Now if I again run the get request, I'm getting fiction. So our get, put, post are working. Let's check with the get by ID. So here I will say 1 submit request, I'm getting the data, right? And then we have, right, then another one is delete. So now what I will do, I will call 1, send it, response body is empty, fine, and you can see here we are getting the no content 204, which is as we expected. Now again if I try to call the same find by ID again, the one getting it, and it send it, it should not give me any data, and that is correct, right? There is no data. Alright, so we have all our endpoints running perfectly fine, and we have our database configuration in place, and we have test cases also for database. So why can't we have our test cases for controller too? So let's go ahead, go to the controller class, and we are going to create a test case for this one. All right, now here I'm going to say Spring Boot test. Okay, and we will be saying auto configure web test client. Okay, and here I need to wire the web test client with say auto wire, and this is fine. All right, again, so first let's call a save method, right? So test our save method, we say what save book and here we are going to call post, right? We are going to call the post URI book, and then we need to specify the body. So we are saying body, and then body is going to be our book DTO, right? So what we can do is we have created one in repository test, right? This one. So similarly, oh wait, we can use the in the controller, right? So we say book test DTO here, we will say book DTO, and we just use this as a builder here. Rest all remains same. All right, so now here test book, and then we need a mono dot just, and we are getting a get book from here, and then we say okay, it is going to be of book DTO dot class, right? Okay, and it will be like this actually. Now after this we are expecting a header with content type application JSON. I mean, we're specifying that, and then this is where we are calling our API. Okay, and then here we are setting our expectation, and that's it. This is our test case for save, right? So let's run it and test it out. Okay, one thing is we need to specify the test case. All right, I'm wondering why I'm not getting the test station. Okay, all right, so my controller test is running and it is passed, right? So we get that it is getting saved. Now let's add more test cases. So we have the save one, now we need the updated one, right? So we say test update book, right? And then update is going to be what? Put, right? So this all remains same. This remains same here also. The expectation is same. The only difference is that we are not going to call it directly. We'll say here at get book, and then say updated book, and then let's say updated book, we change the title to updated, right? And why it's giving me error? Because it is a book DTO. Fine, and then we are using the updated book here. Okay, and one more thing we need to be cautious about is we are actually playing with the update method, so we need to make sure we are passing the ID. Why I'm putting ID 1? Because I'm expecting that save should be executed first, and after that my update method should be executed. So by the time this method come, the database should already have one with the ID, one record with ID 1. And since we are discussing the ordering of the test cases, so we will go back to the repository test case and copy the same thing here, and then what we are going to do is we will say where is that order. So we want this one to be 1 and this one to be 2, right? Okay, so let's run it and see if these two work. So yeah, save is running first, then update. All right, so let's add our remaining methods, and so let's go ahead. Okay, let's speed things up a bit, and what I'm going to do is I'll copy paste this from my code I have. So this one. All right, so now this is the third one. We are saying that okay, we saved it, we updated, now we are listing that. So we are going to call the get method exchange, and here the expectation is that I should be getting at least one record, right? So in the JSON path we are expecting $size 1. Okay, and yeah, and similarly I can have one more which is this one. So here let me change this to this. So here in the by ID test case, what I'm saying is when I'm fetching for ID 1, now its title should be updated, which I have set it over here, right? So again this should be working after update method only. So 1 2 3 4. Okay, and then let's run our test, and we still left with the delete one, but let's see how these behave. All right, and this JSON path thing you can check here in the JSON path GitHub repo. So they have given a nice example in their readme itself, like this, like given the JSON is this, you can perform like query based on like these paths. Okay, so all right, so get back to the code here. So listing is done, get is done, the last thing is the delete one. So let me pull this out here and let me comment okay, leave it. So this is the delete one. So first what we are doing is we are going to delete it, and then we expect that there should be no content, right? So that our 204 should be come up. Second thing, we are going to making the query for that same ID one. Okay, and now our expectation is that the body is empty, right? See here, if you try to perform $.size as 0, it will fail. It will say that there is nothing to evaluate on $.size. So instead you can directly go with expect body method. Okay, and let's finally run our test case one last time. As you can see over here, the orders are maintained, right? So even if the, so I like this is a pretty neat feature. Let's say you are maintaining the code and you have many more methods, and if you are maintaining the order, so you are sure that which test case is expected to be executed after which one. So, okay, this is done, and this is our test file looks like. Okay, all right, so this is our controller test. So we created save test case, and we expect the status to be okay. Then we perform update, and we exchange, and we expect it is okay. Then we expect list tested list, and we expect that there should only be one record. So this is actually also testing two things. One is that save is working, and another thing is update is also working. It is not removing or adding another record, right? So that also you are validating along with the number of record you are getting. Then we check with the get by ID. Here we are also ensuring more precisely that our update test cases work, right? And then in the delete approach, it is self-sufficient, so it just checks whether it will go for the removal of one ID record, and then it just check for the whether getting an empty body or not. So all right, so that's all in this. So we went through creating the database configuration to activate our relational data S2 database. We define a schema file which gets loaded and create a table when the application started. Then we created our repository, our model domain here. Then we created a DTO. Then we created a repository. After this, we tested our repositories by creating a test case and checking that save, and also use the step verifier to ensure that if there is any error, the test case should mark that failed instead of just simply passing and hiding the error under subscribe, right? So this is what we test. We used the step verifier here. Then we went on to create the service implementation, which is our bridge between controller and repository. So here we added methods for listing the books, saving the book, updating a book, finding a book, and then deleting a book. And then finally in controller we exposes endpoints. Okay, and we are using Flux where we need to return multiple elements, and we use mono where we are returning only a single object. Okay, and in this case, since we are not returning any of the type, we are getting void, so we use the then return method, and which will get executed after this one, and then it will send a no content response. And yeah, so that's all in this video. Thank you everyone. Thanks for watching. If you have any suggestions or feedback, please let me know in the comment section. Thank you and have a nice day.